Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just finished reading the book Phaedo. And what is this book about? Well, it's about what happens to the soul after you die. And Phaedo is one of Socrates' friends. It was quite a deep and at times very confusing book, but I'm going to try and break it down for you guys. So, if we set the frame or the context here, the dialogue is told secondhand by Phaedo to a friend named Echerates. Socrates' final hours are happening in the background, but most of the text is abstract argumentation among his friends. Socrates offers several arguments to prove the soul is immortal, and these are the confusing parts. One, the argument from opposites. Everything comes from its opposite. Life comes from death, death from life. Therefore, the soul must exist before birth and after death. The argument from recollection. We have knowledge we couldn't have learned in this life, like perfect mathematical forms. Therefore, the soul existed before birth. The argument from affinity. The soul is invisible, divine, and immortal. The body is visible, mortal, and corruptible. Like attracts alike, basically. Therefore, the soul survives death. And then you have the final argument, which is the soul is what gives life to the body, the form of life, basically. It cannot admit death. Therefore, it is immortal. So, what is Socrates' point then? I mean, what is his purpose here? Socrates isn't just trying to prove survival after death. He's arguing that philosophy is practice for death, separating the soul from bodily desires. The philosopher should welcome death because it frees the soul to know truth. The physical world is a shadow of true reality, the forms. And in the final scene, Socrates ends his life by drinking hemlock, which is a form of poison. His final words are about owing a debt to Asclepius, if I don't butcher that name, which is a healing god in Greek mythology, possibly meaning death is the cure for life, or that philosophy has healed his soul. So, if I analyze his first argument, everything comes from its opposite. Life comes from death, death from life. Therefore, the soul must exist before birth and after death. So, I can interpret this that when you die, your body also gives life. I mean, it does help the ecosystem, I guess, in a way. So, in that sense, I get it. The soul must exist before birth and after death. That is a very abstract, I guess, very metaphysical. Could be true. I don't know. Maybe. His second argument, the argument from recollection, that is to say, we have knowledge that we couldn't have learned in this life, and he sets the example like perfect mathematical forms, and therefore the soul must exist before birth. Also, something that I cannot prove. There might be some truth to this. I think in what is it, a Hindu religion, that you have a past life or a prior life or something like that, or was it Buddhism? I don't remember. We're gonna go through that one day as well, but still very interesting. Now, if you look at the third argument, the argument for affinity, the soul is invisible, divine, and immortal. The body is visible, mortal, and corruptible. Like attracts like, therefore the soul survives death. I can agree to that. I guess if we're looking at soul from the sense of a person's ideas, what a person stood for, what they fought for, um, I can agree to that. You might have killed their physical body, but their ideas is still lingering. It is still there among the masses, and you can see this among famous revolutionaries, for example. So that I can agree with. If we're gonna look at a soul from that perspective, maybe I'm looking at it from a very materialistic standpoint, but yeah. Then you have the final argument, which is the form of life. The soul is what gives life to the body. It cannot admit death, therefore it is immortal. Again, I can perhaps see that the soul is your ideas, what you stand for, basically. And it is true. Um, that is very difficult to kill. If you are a very principled person, uncorruptible, as they say, your ideas can definitely be immortal. So I can agree to that. And that Socrates is saying that death is the cure for life. I think life is beautiful, but life is also very horrific at times. It could be brutal. It could be very sad. Um, it is not a one-way streak. And it is true that death will cure you in that sense, but I don't believe in like dying for the sake of dying, right? We're not, crazy emos over here. But I do believe that a person that has strong principles and that is willing to die, perhaps even kill for that, I can at least respect that in a way, even if I don't agree with the person, right? But dying for the sake of dying uh, is kind of super nihilistic in a way. But I don't think that's what Socrates was arguing for per se. But yeah.